As I was writing this in Chicago, the temperature outside my apartment was minus 6 degrees Celsius, and it was snowing. Thank you for flying me down here to be with you. I'm very happy that for me today, January 12th, 2012, is a hot and heavy date. I write on wine and food for the Chicago Tribune, but more than that, I teach a great deal more about those same subjects. And I wish today to address you as a teacher about the subject that I have chosen, what I want to teach about the wines of Chile in 10 years' time. More than anything else, a teacher needs some point to teach, some place to take students where they have never been before, where they did not perhaps know it exists, some insight into a subject that they don't already have. A teacher needs to tell a story that a student has not yet heard before. If not that, a teacher is no more than the evening newscaster telling you the news, or like those sportscasters who tell you what you are watching just as you are watching it. The stories that I tell that I don't need to tell my students now are the stories that they already know about Chile. They know that Chile makes very good wine, both white and red, especially red, for a good price. However, they also know this story about Argentina, your neighbor. They know this story about Spain. They know this story about southern France. They know this story about southern Italy. They knew this story about Australia, but they got tired of hearing it when the price remained low, but also so did the quality of the wine. What I teach now at present are new stories, stories that people don't yet know in the United States. That Sauvignon Blanc, for example, is coming along as a very interesting varietal. That some red wines other than Cabernet Sauvignon, notably Syrah, sometimes Carignan, are a good story to tell about Chile. And that Chile makes expensive red wines, you call them icons, that can be very captivating to listen to if you have the money to listen to them. But what do I want to teach in 10 years about the wines of Chile, the so far untold story that there will be to tell? That is to say, what can Chile do with its wine to make a point, to offer an insight, to take someone from one place in the glass that they have now to another place that they will have in the glass tomorrow? At this point, I need to say something about what it means for me to be a teacher. I believe that a teacher merely pulls out, draws out of a student what is already in them, what is already in their consciousness, but hidden, that needs to see the light, that needs literally to be elucidated. The Latin for educare, the root of the word education in English, means to lead forth, to bring forth. So now, if you will permit me, I need to try, in all humility, to teach you what is already in you and inside you and Chile, and in the wines of Chile, now and in a possible future that can be drawn out, led out, see the light, so that you may tell a story about yourselves and your wines to people who wish to consume and purchase them. For one thing, I believe that you can learn your story by listening to other stories that do not have happy endings. We have a phrase in the United States called, you could go to school on someone else. Podremos aprender de alguien. Just as other people have already gone to school on you. You once paid the tuition for someone else's lessons. I am thinking of the time in the 1980s when Argentina watched you with great envy as you sold lakes of inexpensive wine to the world. But then they also watched as you became the wine world's bargain basement of low-end wines, not a flattering image, one that you have successfully overcome, but that Argentina avoided initially by offering wines at different levels of prices. Nonetheless, Argentina, I believe, has the makings of its own not-so-happy ending. I have heard some people in Chile say with envy that they wish Chile had a Malbec, the same way that Argentina does now, different than your own Malbec. But really, how much Argentine Malbec, all very much tasting the same, all about the same price, can anyone drink forever? How much of any wine that is not distinctive or interesting can anyone drink forever? You may also go to school on New Zealand's soon-to-be, I believe, happy unending, or unhappy ending. How much overcropped, high acid, made by recipe, untextured Sauvignon Blanc will anyone drink forever? The only way you know you're drinking New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc sometimes is by its odor. You can also go to school on Australia's very sad story. Why blend wines, white or red, from regions separated by hundreds of miles in order to achieve merely a certain style, instead of reflecting even a large vineyards area, or even more so, a specific vineyards area? What do people want a wine to say? What story do people want a wine to tell? That it is like or imitates something or someone, or that it is from somewhere. The personalities of styles change, but the personalities of places do not. Chile does not need to envy any Malbec bubble that soon will burst. When? Why? When something more interesting comes along at a reasonable price, at least for us very ready Americans in that market. Will it be Tanat from Uruguay? Perhaps. Sauvignon Blanc from South Africa? Perhaps. Wines from China, as Deborah told us, that are environmentally friendly and inexpensive and well-made and delicious. That will happen. Why? Because the Chinese have a mind to do it. And when the Chinese put themselves to do it, well, something is bound to come along, something interesting and distinctive. That is what bursts bubbles and prevents people from yawning in the middle of a story. Can it be something from Chile? Yes. Yes, I believe so, but only if Chile learns to tell its story. I believe strongly that I will be able to tell that story to my students in 10 years' time if Chile does at least two things, only two things. First, Chile must play to its great strength, as some of us have already mentioned, especially Anthony, and its diversity of terroir. You live in this kind of world. Never before in the history of humanity, never, has so many different, well-made wines existed from so many places. How are you going to stand out? By being like them? No. People go back to a place that tells a story they wish to listen to a story about itself. People don't care to listen to boring stories. Terroir is the way that a vine speaks to us. Terroir is a way a vine tells us its story. The winemaker cannot do this. The wine marketer cannot do this. They cannot speak about the place. Only the place has a voice and can tell its story. Second, Chile must sell wisely, not just well. Listen to the statistics, always shocking to my students in America. 90%, at least 90%, sometimes 92% of all the wine made on the globe in a given harvest is consumed, turned into pee-pee and hangovers by the next harvest. All of it. Another 4 or 5% is consumed within the next 5 years after its harvest. That's a vast amount of wine. The point about wine is that you want people to consume it, to drink it. How do you get people to drink your wine? It is all well and good to illumine an icon, but it is far more important to sell its shadow. The Australians forgot this. They needed to sell a lot of wine to a lot of people, but what they had to sell after a while was not interesting. It told no good story. It was not distinctive or characterful. It had no sense of place, even with all the little cute animals on it. This is changing, of course, in Australia, and to their benefit, but they made a very big mistake. How will Chile get people to keep coming back to its wines? They will if its wines tell people an interesting story. I, for one, will come back for more than the wines of Chile. I love this country, its open-hearted people. I love its beauty, its promise, its energy, its food, and its wine. I love its diversity, most of all, and the many stories that it has to tell. Muchas gracias. Hasta la próxima.
Wines of Chile, the natural choice.